a bunch of slabs. Maybe when winter would come, we would build some garages. Eau Claire goes to our waste anyway.
The swapping starts happening.
Somewhere, especially for the east. Yeah, yeah.
Not in the because she's left. Andy, tell me anything.
Yeah.
You guys float in and out if you need to. He says, I want it done by fall.
Yeah.
You know, and they already did one pour up there.
Yeah.
That's why.
Beach pads or whatever. Rolling it.
Yeah. And they said they got that, he paid them right off front. Deal.
And then my boys are going to septic facilities.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is surrounding us.
Buckle down.
Nucleus.
So that was good.
There you go.
I'm sure they do it here.
Yeah.
They get a good turnout. It's been a few years since they've done the chamber golf.
Yes, I thought about it.
With us today.
Get a hold of him. What's that from before winter?
Is it full?
Maybe that's for me.
I'm like, better do that.
Like, we'll get through tonight.
Teasing we would have.
Really? Why would you say that?
That's what I was gonna ask.
What have you thrown out? Bert is back there. We can ask him caution. Oh, yeah. Never mind. Never mind. That's the easy way.
The time is now 6 o'clock. I would like to call the June County Board meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. A moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This before a roll.
This is how we do it at New York.
Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm just confused in seeing the roll call. The vice chair. What's unusual is because the setup is normally when we do a reorg, and we don't approach, electing a vice chair very, in mid-season like this. So it just struck me as odd as not taking the roll call and finding who's here, but we see who's here. So business item 1 is electing the vice chair. I will read through the procedure just to make sure. So the procedure for election of the vice chair, I'll take nominations for this vice chair. You don't need permission to speak before making a nomination. You can speak aloud, but one at a time, please, so we're able to record them. You can nominate yourself. Nominations do not require a second. So once nominations have been recorded, each nominee will have the opportunity to come up to the podium and make a statement to the board, not to exceed 5 minutes, should they wish to do so. If there are multiple nominations, we'll determine the order for making statements by drawing a nominee names out of a box. Once all statements have been concluded, each supervisor will vote for their selection by a secret ballot. I believe your name does not need to be on the secret ballot. It's a secret ballot. which is different on the executive committee if we get to that. Before voting, I'll ask for 2 volunteers that have not been nominated to assist in collecting the ballots. Once all the ballots are collected, the names of each person voted for on each ballot will be read out loud by the clerk. Be read out loud to the clerk as they're pulled out. You're welcome to use blank tally sheets that have been provided to you. Election to the seat of vice chair requires a majority of the votes cast of those supervisors present. And today we are once elected, the vice chair will take his or her seat up here on the dais. So, any questions before we begin? Okay, the first will be taking nominations for vice chair, and it does need a second.
Will we
So just
postpone the vote on a matter of substance? I have a concern before the DA right now on open meeting violation.
Later makes a motion to nominate.
Well, it hasn't been seconded. Is there a second to the motion from Supervisor Stubridge? Okay, here-
Chairman, what are you asking for right now, please?
Supervisor Stubridge had to make a motion,
To postpone the vote.
Okay, so it is a motion, okay.
but it needs seconded to get on the floor. Without a second, the motion dies and we look to continue on. Okay, seeing no second, I will open up nominations then for vice chair.
Supervisor Flater nominates Jason Bergeron.
Okay? Any other nominations?
Supervisor Shoebridge nominates Supervisor Silets.
Okay. Any more nominations? Okay, seeing none, I will close the nominations. We'll give each of the, do both people nominated want to make a statement?
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, if you do, then we will, I guess, draw a name out or flip a coin. Or, yeah. Or are you comfortable going in the order you were nominated? And you have a preference either way, does it matter?
Makes no difference to me.
Okay. Well then, Jason, if you'd like to come up and,
All right. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me this evening. Obviously, I'm Jason Bergeron. I represent District 7. Obviously, the timing of this is a bit odd, not normally when we're doing elections of this nature. So I'll keep the resume piece of this short and sweet. I was born in Jim Falls, Wisconsin. I still live there, plan to live there the rest of my life. Graduated from Chi High, studied business in college, and I have over 20 years private sector business experience. Short and sweet. The experience I want to kind of highlight tonight, I think, is much more relevant to what we do here. The experiences I really want to talk about is, for over a decade, I volunteered with Junior Achievement of Northwest Wisconsin and had the privilege of being on their board of directors for 3 years. I volunteer with and am a member of my local Lions Club. I have volunteered with Irvine Park with the Christmas lights set up and with spring cleanup. And this is now my 4th term on the county board. And as a supervisor, I have not missed a full board meeting since my 2018 to 2020 term. I don't call those things out because I'm asking for a thank you or an applause. I call those things out because I believe it highlights my commitment to the service to my community, service to the public. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing here. We're public servants. And we're not here because we have some set agenda or because of some political ideology or because we have all the answers. we're here because we have a desire to serve the public. And I think that that's something really important to keep front and center, to reflect on in today's political environment. The media feeds us these grandiose stories on a daily basis from the state and federal levels, and almost seeming to seek out drama even when none exists, for the sake of a headline. And we need to be mindful to not let those types of stories, and those types of personalities, and those types of mindsets seep into our local boards. What we do is far too important from a day-to-day perspective of the people we represent. I'm now in my 4th term here on this board, and what I've really appreciated about this board is that regardless of what community you represent, or what your political background is, or how much experience you have in all of this, every board I've been a part of has been able to come together to achieve really great things for Chippewa County. And that's how it should be. That's how we should continue to strive for as we go forward here. And that's the mindset that I will continue to operate with. Obviously, we know each other in here. And, without a doubt, we've had disagreements throughout this past year on the board together. But what I really do appreciate about this board is it's never gotten personal. We've never went down the road of trying to belittle someone else's opinion to try to make yours stronger. We've always continued to say our piece, speak to what we believe is right, and let the votes fall where they may. So I really do appreciate about that this board, even though we all obviously have our preferences, our backgrounds of what we think is right and wrong, but we've always been able to keep it about the facts, keeping it objective. And that's something and that's really been true for every term I've served so far. So I won't take up a whole lot more of your time here tonight. I really do appreciate you, appreciate the consideration for this role. And if I do not win tonight, I know exactly what I need to do. I need to work harder at earning your trust and respect, and maybe in the future, more opportunities will come to me. Appreciate it. You have a great night.
Thank you. Okay, Supervisor Seidlitz?
First of all, I'd like to thank Shoebridge for nominating me. It's kind of caught me off guard here a little bit. I don't have nothing prepared. But I'm Joel Seidlitz, Supervisor, District 9. I guess I'd probably stand up here in front of all you guys because some of you guys know how I vote, how I look out for the taxpayers, our constituents. And I just want everybody's voices to be heard, everybody's voices in this room to be heard. I want people to be responded to, when they, reach out for advice or reach out to different leaders in different committees, different department heads, things like that. Most of all, I want your neighbors, your taxpayers to be heard, to have their voice, their concerns, because what's my concern in Wheaton is not a concern in maybe Eagleton or Jim Falls or Chippewa Falls, but it is a concern in Chippewa County. So, I appreciate the intelligence that's in this room. I think every supervisor here can make very good decisions on topics that come in front of us here. And I think maybe we can solve some of the harder problems if we put all of our heads together and, we all work together. And, I hope to get your vote. If I don't get your vote, I believe Jason's a good person too, and I think everybody in this room is a great person, but I want to just, thank each and every one of you for putting me up here. That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, now I would like to, before you vote, I'd like to have 2 volunteers. Well, I guess what we're going to do, the sequence is you will write down the name on a blank piece of paper and then fold it, and I will need 2 volunteers then to come up to collect the votes, 2 volunteers of the ones that aren't nominated. Pardon? Yeah, okay. Ruby and Omar. Can
No, he's got one.
In the shoebox. Okay, thank you. Does everybody have their vote collected?
He read it? I don't know. Suppose he would read it now.
I will read it off. I pull them out? Okay. Supervisor Bergeron? 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 Supervisor Seidlitz? Supervisor Bergeron? Supervisor Bergeron? Supervisor Seidlitz? Supervisor Bergeron? Supervisor Seidlitz? Supervisor Bergeron? Supervisor Bergeron? Supervisor Seidlitz? Supervisor Seidlitz? Supervisor Seidlitz has received 5 votes, and Supervisor Bergeron has received 13 votes, which constitutes a majority. So Supervisor Bergeron will be the Vice Chair. Congratulations. So step number 2 now will be election of one at-large executive committee member. Both of our nominations were already on the executive committee, so this would necessitate this. Since the vice chair is automatically a member of the exec committee, he already is, there's a vacancy now in the executive committee. So this, I assume, is standard nomination. Do we need a nominations or? All right, so I'm just trying to get what we have. So the nominations will be the same. We don't need a second for nomination. And I believe they would have the same opportunity to make a statement. No. Okay. So we'll take nominations, and there's no statements or anything then, and then we will take the vote. The vote would be on this one here, because we need to needs to be recorded. It's a recorded vote.
Kelly nominates Lutz.
And just make sure you sign it. I hear Supervisor Lotz nominated.
Supervisor Gearing nominates Charles Boomer.
Okay, Supervisor Bomar. Yep. Any other nominations? Last call for nominations. Okay, seeing none, we have 2 nominations then, Supervisor Lotz and Supervisor Beaumont. So again, we'll have you write this down, and I will ask for 2 volunteers to collect. We need that. No. Yeah. Okay, Supervisor Kelly. 1 more volunteer. Everybody's ballot been collected? We can tally it. Okay. Okay. No. And Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Yeah, we have one without the supervisor name on it. Supervisor Lotz. Other unsigned on a blank thing, sorry. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Lotz.
it's a nine. There's 16 here.
Seven. Maybe 18 total. Minus the 2. There's 16 total. Yes. it's total. Let me. There's only 18 present here. And we have 2 bills. That's right. These two that are. So the number of ballots, so there's 16.
Yeah, because those aren't
Gotcha. So 9 isn't. Right. Okay, so we've had 2 ballots that are invalid because they didn't have supervisor's name on them to know where they came from, which leaves us with 16 ballots. So 9 would be a majority. Supervisor Lotz got 7 votes, and Supervisor Bomar has 9, which is a majority. Correct? So Supervisor.
You're reading now.
Well, there were 2 that had votes.
Correct, I marked those on the side. I had 9 for Bowman, 8 for Lott, and 2 downtown.
Then you have an extra person.
There's only 18 people here.
That's what I thought. They were just
And nope, we counted, there's 18.
There's 2 here, and we, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the ones after lots. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for Bomar. So Supervisor Bomar is, sorry?
You would need 10.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think we have to vote
that
again.
the interpretation is it the number of ballots received or the number of valid ballots received or
No,
the
but it
people here?
says
Yeah.
of the president,
Yeah.
the supervisor's present.
So the wording says that a majority of the supervisors present. So
we need
let's,
10.
so we do need to retake the vote. Just trying to interpret. So just as a reminder, name you're voting for up at the top, your district there, and then sign it.
Question, Chairman,
Yes.
why are we re-voting?
The wordage that we have says the number of we had a majority of the supervisors present. Okay, we had 2 valid votes, so that it took the vote received down to only 18. But 9, or 17. 16, we had 16 valid votes. We have 9 for the highest. 9 is not a majority of the supervisors present. That was my, trying to get the interpretation. Is it valid votes or supervisors present? The wordage that we have in our language of how we do the election, it has to be majority of the supervisors present. So because of the 2 invalid votes, that doesn't reduce the number of,
No, but it's 18.
So
and we had 9. So
one's gonna need 10.
9 is not a majority. 9 is, it needs 1 more than, it needs 10. My clarification was which vote, what's the number we needed?
Let's end the gentleman's club over there in the executive committee, huh?
Pardon?
I'm just saying we should end the gentleman's club in the executive committee.
So make sure you look at what says signature required, put your signature there, and then your nomination on the bottom line.
district number.
And the district, and put the district number in case we can't read signatures, which I resemble that. And again, I would call for 2 volunteers to collect the ballots. Supervisor Shoebridge.
Oh, we got like down there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Everybody's ballot been collected? Hopefully we have 18 valid this time. Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Another invalid. No information on it. Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? So this round, we have Supervisor Lotz with 8 votes and Supervisor Bomar with 9. So we still don't have one with majority, and we have one invalid vote. So we'll do round 3. Again, make sure your signature at the top, or the signature required.
Are they using the right site? Are they using the right form?
No, the one we have was just a blank piece of paper.
Yeah, so whoever does it, use the form, please.
We're out of forms.
Out of forms?
Let's get a woman up there, huh? Let's do that. That'd be fun. There they are.
And again, I would ask for 2 volunteers to collect the ballots. Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Next time.
Thank you. Thanks.
I know, right? How many votes did we have that one meeting where it was? Should we take it out in the hall?
No, thank you all for your.
Knock down, drag out here.
Go. Okay, Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Bomar. Supervisor Lotz. Supervisor Lotz. And it shows 9 votes for each. So if you need a sheet, raise your hand so you can get them to you. And then we will revote. And make sure signature and district are on there. Again, 2 volunteers to collect ballots. Thank you.
Can't see it.
Everybody's ballot been collected? Okay. Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz? Supervisor Bomar? Supervisor Lotz?
Good old boy stays.
Total shows. Pardon? Same. Vote total shows Supervisor Lotz with 8 votes and Supervisor Bomar with 10. Supervisor Bomar to executive. Thank you very much for your patience. Next round would have been rock, paper, scissors, maybe. I don't know. But thank you very much. And I'm a little confused. Item 4 is the roll call, which we show 18 supervisors present. Item 5, approval of the agenda.
Boomer moves.
Later seconds.
Okay, we have a motion. Well, just a minute. Let's, sorry.
That's okay.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any questions, comments? Okay, we'll call the vote.
I do have one question though, real quick. Why isn't there like a sheriff's report on there just, or like an after action report from the last event that we had? Like whatever the alien invasion thing was.
Force fields?
Yeah,
It would be kind of impossible to have a report this soon, given the requirements of we have to have the agenda out, 24 hours before the meeting. And any report from that would have to have a little bit of preparation, I think, for us to get in just
it
time.
was like a little summary or something.
Pardon?
Like it would have just been like a little summary or like a, all right.
I assume Legal and Law Committee might have that
Oh, well,
and everything, but yeah. But as far as getting on the agenda this soon, just the logistics of it are really hard with the clerk requirements and publishing. Okay. So, again, voting on the agenda. Okay. Agenda is approved. Members of the public wishing to be heard? There are none? Item 7 would be the consent agenda. Look for a motion to approve.
Motion to consent agenda, lots.
Rochelle second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? Okay, we'll call the vote then. Okay. Consent agenda is approved. Item 8 are reports. A, County Administrator Review and Update, 2026 to 30 Capital Improvement Plan.
So the 26 budget process is underway. Kind of the first things that happen is updating the capital improvement plan or the KIP plan. This started a few months ago, working with departments. And so what I'll do is just give you a kind of a run through of the 2026 items. Obviously, the 27, 28, 29, and 30 are listed. Those are just, good for planning when we work with the departments to kind of project what they anticipate will happen. So I'll just give you the report. When we get to the business items, you'll actually be acting on the department projects and the funding sources. We'll also be able to have the department heads that are present come up and answer, present their items and answer any questions. But just to start with, I'll give you the 26 items, a little bit of a summary of each. So first item under facilities and parks is the parking lot A replacement. This is actually the phase 2 of the project. Phase 1 is budgeted for this year. That's the large parking lot to the north of the courthouse, and it's replacement of that parking lot. Branch 3 jury box remodel needs to be larger to accommodate the chairs that need to be in there, as well as put a barrier between the jury and the judge or the witness box. Item 3 under facilities is the sheriff's department remodel. So this would be phase 1 of the project, which would actually be the kind of the planning and the architecture work to redo some areas in the sheriff's department building. And then if you look down at 27, you can see where there's monies budgeted, projected to be budgeted in 27 for implementation of that project once the planning is over. Under highway, item 1 is our highways and bridges. This is our kind of standard item that we would put in the capital budget to support the different projects that are projected to occur in 2026. And I should reference this, I'm just referring to the summary page. If you've been through the full KIP plan, like under highway, it lists each individual bridge project and road project that is intended to be completed. And then I'll just expand upon that. You can see the total expenditures is $11.3 million. The sources of funds for that are sales tax, borrowing that we're doing every other year, and then grants and other, which would be road aids we receive from the state or trip funding and those types of sources. Highway, the second item is machinery purchases. This is just the, replacing end-of-life equipment and upgrading as we phase out equipment, kind of a standard item. Same thing with building improvements, just continual maintenance and upkeep of our various highway facilities. Both those are funded through fund balance, which is generated by the projects that we do and the income received from those projects. Fourth item under highway is the non-highway vehicle fleet replacement. Again, this is a pretty standard item and amount that's budgeted every year to replace our non-highway vehicles, which would be fleet for HHS or forestry, and also our law enforcement squads. After highway is our information technology. Again, standard item, replacing end-of-life equipment, personal computers for employees, data center upgrades, security, that type of thing. That's $245 out of, again, funded by sales tax. Land conservation and forest management, the Hickory Ridge warming shelter and maintenance shed is included in the KIP. That's intended to be funded by grant funds. Snowmobile bridge is a somewhat standard item as well. That's funded out of snowmobile trail aids. County forest land acquisitions, that's budgeting money for any potential acquisition projects, and that's a split of fund balance and grant dollars that would be obtained if that were to happen. The county stewardship fund, budgeting $100,000 of fund balance for stewardship projects. And then we have two sheriff's items. One is replacement of the field services mobile command trailer. That trailer is, current one is over 10 years old. And just with the advances in technology and the things that they can do, they're looking to replace that, and that would come out of sales tax. And then last project under sheriff is the taser refresh. And so that would be upgrading all of the tasers throughout the department, funding it through sales tax. And actually, we would get all the tasers in 26, but funded over the 26 and 27 capital improvement projects, capital improvement plan dollars. So those are the 26 projects. Yes.
The parking lot replacement, didn't we do the chip seal on it instead of doing the replacement, or are they still gonna?
They did the chip seal as a gap measure with the intention of replacing it. So right now, at this point, we haven't committed to replace this year. This year, half of it was supposed to be replaced. It was budgeted in the 25. In the back is Scott and Abbott, their new facilities and parks, and we've already talked about assessing that project and seeing if we can put it off another year, because the chip seal does seem to be holding up, and it's draining well. However, if you're here on a hot day, you will find that the chip seal is pulling away or is soft. And so it's going to be replaced at some point. I'd like to get as much life out of it as we can, but it might be something, as long as we have the money budgeted, we'll push ahead and get it replaced with that new asphalt. Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So I'm going to qualify where I'm coming from with this. As a member of the executive committee, I voted for this to be forwarded so that the entire board could have input in this. I'm a member of the Legal and Law Enforcement Committee, and I had a career in law enforcement, starting in 1971. So when I look over this thing, some points I want to bring out. Branch 2 jury box, $150,000. The Hickory Ridge warming shelter and maintenance, $500,000 on top of what has already been done. Now, I understand there's grant money and I understand there's donated money, but that may be able to go somewhere else. Snowmobile bridge, $120,000, and that's each year. County forest land acquisition, $300,000, that's each year. County stewardship fund of $100,000, that's each year. And when you look at all of this, the sheriff remodel, which is phase one of $50,000, and I don't know where it's going in the future. There's parts of that building over there that have been there since 1952. When I started in 1971, there's a lot of it that hasn't changed. Now, I know we need to do maintenance and upkeep, but maybe we need to prioritize where that maintenance and upkeep goes. $500,000 for a parking lot, and that's half of it. If that could be pushed off, maybe there's some other things that are more important than that today. I'm only talking about today. I just wanted to emphasize those points of this part of the budget, to give you food for thought, to help you make up your mind whichever way you think is most appropriate. I thank you.
Any more questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a question. So based upon what Supervisor Gearing just brought forward, are there things in those areas that are grant rather than sales tax or other funding sources that we would have some leeway?
Well, just to follow up on Mr. Gehring's comment, these are a couple of the specific items. The Hickory Ridge Warming Shelter is anticipated to be a grant and donated funds, so those couldn't be shifted. Same thing with the snowmobile bridge. We budget for those, come out of the snowmobile trail aids that we can apply for through the state every year. And then the forest land acquisitions are stewardship funds, and then we set aside stumpage for strategic acquisitions. So primarily those are all grant funded. Your sales tax items are the ones that probably could be shifted. Like the parking lot, the jury box, the remodel, those are all sales tax. Highways and bridges are also partially sales tax funded, but I wouldn't recommend shifting those because you're leveraging the state dollars that you'll be getting to go along with those. Fleet replacement and IT are sales tax funded, and in theory could be shifted. Again, you're kind of on a program though to replace your fleet and IT on a regular basis. And then you have your other two sheriff's projects, which are also sales tax funded. So I mean, that sales tax is your discretion fund.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A point I would like to make, and I've seen this on a regular basis since I've been a member of the board. There is a lot of grant money out there, but the way I understand it, we're only gonna get, Chippewa County's only get so much grant money a year. And if we spend it on these things, it may not be available for something else we want or need. So I always look at grant money with a little different outlook on it. That's my opinion only.
So to go off that comment then, so what grants are we missing because we're taking these ones?
I mean, the grants, the three Hickory Ridge, Snowmobile, and Forest Land are specific grant programs only for that purpose. You can only use snowmobile trail dollars on the snowmobile trails. Hickory Ridge and Forest Land are stewardship dollars that can only be used for stewardship or
According to what Supervisor Gehring just said though, is we can only take so many grants. So is there a grant now that we're going to need, or what are we missing? The opportunity cost grants, are we missing none that we know of?
well, separate from, I mean, these are very specific grants that fund these projects.
Exactly.
So are there other grants for other uses out there? Potentially. I don't know of any like to fund the sheriff's department.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Chair. The Hickory Ridge is mostly by the Friends of Hickory Ridge. They're the ones that are applying for this grant. We would have been doing this 2 seasons ago, but they failed to do the proper stuff in place. But they are actually applying for the grant, and it's coming through. The snowmobile bridge thing is, if we may get it, we may not. That's to be determined, that will come off there. And the same thing is with the land acquisitions, that goes into a fund that builds. It's not, this has been set up for quite a few years, and it's in there to build. So a lot of these things that, they are grant money that's going there. And to say that if we take and apply for the snowmobile bridge, that's going to affect us to be able to apply for another grant? No.
Yes.
To follow up on that, these are essentially placeholders in the budget. If they're not in there, we can't get the money if it does come available. So.
Yeah, if we don't get trail aids funding. The snowmobile bridge doesn't happen. If we don't get the stewardship or the private donation for Hickory Ridge, that doesn't happen
But there needs to be a placeholder in the budget to accept it if it does show up, so.
with expenditure. If I could just offer one thing, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Gehring's comment again. So this year, or next year, there's a $50,000 placeholder for design work and figuring out the project in the Sheriff's Department. In 27, and again, this is not what you would be approving tonight, we do forecast a $500,000 expense within the capital improvement plan for remodeling the Sheriff's Department. And there was a money set aside this year in 25 for freshening up the Sheriff's Department, paint, some simple floor replacements, I think 175,000. That project has not moved ahead because now that we have facilities and parks position filled, we're going to talk and do a walkthrough with the sheriff of the department and potentially roll all that into one project rather than spending money this year and then coming back in 2 years to do more remodeling. But that's just kind of up in the air as of today.
Supervisor Kelly?
Thank you, Chair. I guess this is more towards Chief Deputy. Did we get all of the radios replaced? Yes. Oh, okay. All right. So I thought there was like that was a two-parter, right?
We're caught up now.
All right, sweet. All right, thank you. That's it.
Any more questions? Thank you. And item B, monthly statements of claims filed with the county clerk.
So depending on when you looked at your agenda, if you looked at it last week when we posted it, there was no claims on there. And then right after we posted it, 2 claims came in. So that's what you will now see in your agenda packet is there were 2 new claims. And again, like every month, if you have any questions on those particular claims, you can reach out to Corp Counsel.
Okay. And the next item, Chair Board update. As you know, just from our vote we had here for our vice chair, it's a result of, a supervisor that had resigned. The process, I will update you as we feel that we have the, looking for applications out there. I believe it closes June 18th. And we'll schedule interviews with those who have applied soon after that. And hopefully by the next board meeting, we'll have a recommendation for you. We also have on the table another resignation from a supervisor who is potentially moving out of district. And that notice is, I think, at the end of the month. And that will probably be not till the August meeting till we have the time to go through the period of doing that. This is an update. And one other update that I will update as we learn more, by the election of the vice chair and changing the exec committee, we need to relook at our committees just to make sure all the requirements we have of committees and which you have to be on and what, some of them are together that if we have to shift a few people or so, I will update you that, and we will work on that the next meeting. I can't tell that right now. If you've ever seen the matrix of our committees and some of the requirements, I just have to take a look at that in case any has been affected by these 2 plus the new supervisors coming in.
Chairman, I didn't catch that. What supervisor is potentially resigning? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah.
It's public record.
Yeah. Supervisor Kirby is potentially moving outside district. I mean, he has admitted he's moving outside district, given us the upgrade.
Sorry to see you go.
So that just, I'll keep you updated. Like this may affect committee assignments. I'm not sure. More likely, what we have just done from executive committee in which you can be on, there's a couple of requirements. We just have to review. I'll update you on that.
Thank you.
And then just one other, just as a reminder, communication among supervisors and everything, just remember that communication between supervisors has to be done very carefully. If we have extended communication, we have open meetings laws that we just have to be careful of walking quorums. And any type of communication, especially if it starts being back and forth with multiple supervisors, potentially could do that. So just keep that in mind when you're communicating and be wary. Okay, item 9, business items. Resolution 1525, resolution confirming and ratifying authority to add additional opioid defendants.
Resolution 15-25, resolution confirming and ratifying the authority of council for Chippewa County to add additional defendants to opioid litigation, including in MDL 2804. Now therefore be it resolved, the County Board of Supervisors hereby confirms and ratifies the authority of, 1, the law firms to file appropriate pleadings in MDL 2804 or appropriate federal or state court proceedings to add additional parties, including but not limited to the entitles listed on Exhibit A as defendants. 2, the Corporation Counsel, Board Chair, or other authorized official to execute and deliver any and all other and further documents necessary to effectuate the intent of this resolution. Be it further resolved that all actions heretofore taken by the Board of Supervisors and other appropriate public officers and agents of the county with respect to the matters contemplated under this resolution are hereby ratified, confirmed, and approved. Forwarded to the County Board by the Executive Committee.
Look for a motion to approve.
Supervisor Gooding?
Seconds.
Okay, you have a motion and a second.
Doing my job to write down all the motion. Who's the second?
I think I heard Flynn, but is that right?
Is it Flynn?
Flynn, second.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the opioid litigation since it's been going on since 2017. I don't know. Supervisor Bergeron, were you on the board back in, so very, in Supervisor Ives maybe back in 2017? Okay. So some of you may recall that back in 2017, the county board authorized the county through resolution 5417 to enter into an agreement with outside counsel to pursue litigation as a member of a class with almost every other county in the state. There were 66 against retailers and distributors of opioid pharmaceuticals. And like I said, the litigation's been going on for years now. And in the course of that litigation, our outside counsel, through their investigation along the way, have found certain opioid manufacturers or distributors, parties who should be brought in and added as defendants. However, with one in particular, one of those parties has questioned whether the resolution that was passed back in 17 indeed authorized the county board or authorized the outside counsel to add this particular defendant, that there wasn't authorization in that resolution and in the agreement that we signed with the outside counsel. We strongly disagree with that, meaning the county and our outside counsel. In fact, the engagement agreement does state that depending upon the results of initial investigations of the facts and circumstances surrounding the potential claim, there may be additional parties sought to be made responsible. So it's clear that the resolution approving the agreement through the agreement did provide that authority to our outside counsel. However, in order to just to get by this, what our outside counsel has advised us to do is to pass this resolution, just reaffirming the authority of our outside counsel to indeed do that, to add defendants where they seem necessary. And there's an exhibit that's also included in your materials that lists all of the defendants, and there's a statement at the bottom that is sort of a catch-all that says, in case there are any others that aren't on this exhibit, we can also bring those in too. So that's essentially what this resolution is doing, just to reaffirm the authority of our outside counsel.
Any questions? Supervisor Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. Did you add the Department of Veterans Affairs to this list?
The outside counsel is ones who.
Because I was looking at it, it doesn't look like it's even on there. Like they killed a lot of veterans. Opioids.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm supposed to respond to that.
Saying.
Any more questions? Okay. Thank you. I will call the vote then to approve the resolution. The resolution is approved. Thank you. Item 2 is Resolution 16-25, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds to pay debt service liabilities 2016 capital improvement plan.
Resolution 16-25, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds to pay debt service liabilities as part of the 2026 Chippewa County budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $944,700 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2018 capital improvement project bonds for payments on the principal and interest on the 2018 capital improvement radio tower project, transportation bonds, and refunding the previous bonding to be included in the 2026 Chippewa County budget. And be it further resolved that the sum of $250,875 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2020 capital improvement project bonds for payments on the principal and interest on the transportation bonds to be included in the 2026 Chippewa County budget. And be it further resolved that the sum of $422,700 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2022 capital improvement project bonds for payments on the principal and interest on the transportation bonds to be included in the 2026 Chippewa County budget. And be it further resolved that the sum of $486,903 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the debt service fund for the 2024 capital improvement project bonds, along with utilizing $86,722 of fund balance from bond premiums for payments on the principal and interest on the transportation bonds to be included in the 2026 Chippewa County budget, forwarded to the County Board by the Executive Committee. Are we okay? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's a typo in the agenda, but the actual resolution is for the 2026 capital plan, even though your agenda states 2016. So I'm looking for a motion to approve.
Waiter, so moved.
Omar seconds.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any?
Yeah, just the quick summary is that we're on a schedule of issuing bonds to create revenue every 2 years. And then every year for the budget process, we have to approve a resolution of how we're going to make the debt service payment. So we use sales tax dollars to do that, and this resolution authorizes the use of the sales tax of $2,105,178 from the sales tax fund to pay our debt service for the 18, 20, 22, and 24 bond payments.
Any questions? If not, we will call the vote to approve the resolution.
I clicked it a couple.
They're fine.
My apologies.
Okay. Okay, resolution is approved. Resolution 17-25, resolution to approve the use of sales tax funds for the annual contribution to the Chippewa Valley Regional Airport.
Resolution number 17-25, resolution to approve the use of sales tax funds for the annual contribution to the Chippewa Valley Regional Airport to be used for airport capital projects and/or airport debt service as part of the 2026 Chippewa County budget. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $132,890 be transferred from the sales tax property tax relief fund to the airport budget in the general fund to pay Chippewa County's 2026 airport agreement contribution to be used for capital projects and debt service as enumerated in the airport budget, all as part of the recommended 2026 Chippewa County budget, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Motion to approve?
Rochelle.
Is there a motion and a second to approve? Any questions on this? Yes.
What's the return on investment on this? I keep hearing that there's not many planes going out of there. Is there a real benefit to this program? Is it going somewhere? Do we have kind of like a report on that at all, or no?
We do get a annual operations report from the Airport Commission. I don't have that with me tonight, but we do get a report on passenger counts and planes hangared at the airport.
So are you getting a feel from what you're saying is that the project is increasing, we're getting more traffic through here, or is it something that's still going downhill?
I could only give you an opinion that, I mean, what happened earlier this year was that, they had lost daily passenger service, and that's been restored now through, we're under the federal government's subsidy to have plane, the airlines to go to certain rural or less volume airports get subsidized through the, I think it's the air necessity funding from the FAA.
If you mind.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead.
I've been on the airport commission for probably 8 of the last 10 years. These are the essential air services where the government funding comes. Our funding helps, ours is really restricted to capital improvement projects for the airport itself. The economic impact, the passenger count is one thing, but the economic impact of businesses that use it, you'd be surprised. The number, Menards has their basis there. Businesses that use the airport and traffic comes, they do have a whole thing at the end of the year that they release. The economic impact is large, and the passenger economic impact is small compared to the business economic. That's
Awesome.
and just to put it in perspective, I believe Eau Claire County is at least 2 or 2.5 times the amount that we put into it, they put in based on population.
Yep. Just want to make sure we weren't supporting a failing project just because it's a government thing, so.
No.
It is a net benefit to our community, it's awesome.
Yeah, and even probably Charlie Walker, the Economic Development Committee, he will tell you the benefits of that as well. But they do a report, I think, annually, and we'll try to maybe sometime have some of that available for you. Sorry to step in.
Go ahead, thanks.
So any more questions on this? Okay, I'll call the vote then. Yeah. Sorry.
Too fast.
Okay, the resolution is approved. Thank you. Item 4, Resolution 18-25, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax for facilities and parks 2026 CIP project.
Resolution 18-25, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds for Facilities and Parks Division capital improvement projects as part of the 2026 capital improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $500,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the Facilities and Parks Division as part of the 2026 budget to be used to complete the parking lot A replacement, Phase 2, and be it further resolved that the sum of $150,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the Facilities and Parks Division as part of the 2026 budget to be used to remodel the Branch 3 jury box, and be it further resolved that the sum of $50,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the Facilities and Parks Division as part of the 2026 budget to be used on plan development for the Sheriff's Department remodel Phase 1, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Romeo moves.
You have a second?
Second, Ives.
Okay, you have a motion and a second. Questions on this? Okay. Questions? Then we will call the vote. In a minute. Thank you. Okay, thank you. The resolution is approved, 15-1. Item 5, Resolution 19-25, resolution to authorize funding of Highway Department capital improvement plan projects in the 2026 budget.
Resolution 19-25, resolution to authorize funding of Highway Department capital improvement projects as part of the 2026 capital improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved pursuant to Section 2-361A3B of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances that the sum of $2,800,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to be used to fund Highway Department roadway and bridge projects in 2026 as part of the 2026 county budget. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Chippewa County Policy 305, Fund Balance or Non-Lapsing Account Expenditure Policy, the county board does hereby authorize the Highway Department to utilize fund balance in the amount of $1,100,000 from the Highway Department Machinery Fund to purchase Highway Department machinery in 2026 as part of the 2026 county budget. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Chippewa County Policy 305, Fund Balance or Non-Lapsing Account Expenditure Policy, the county board does hereby authorize the Highway Department to utilize fund balance in the amount of $100,000 from the Highway Department Machinery Fund Balance to be used for the improvement of county highway buildings and grounds projects in 2026 as part of the 2026 county budget. And be it further resolved pursuant to Section 2-361A3B of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances that the sum of $300,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to be used to fund replacement of vehicles in the county's non-highway fleet in 2026 as part of the 2026 county budget, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Later, so.
Romare seconds.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any questions or discussion? Okay, if none, then we will call the vote. Dwayne? Just didn't. Okay. Thank you. Okay, the resolution is approved. Item 6, Resolution 20-25, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax revenue funds for computer equipment replacement, 2026 capital improvement plan.
Resolution 20-25, resolution to authorize use of sales tax funds for the IT division for computer equipment replacement as part of the 2026 capital improvement plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $245,000 be transferred from the sales tax fund to the computer outlay account to be used for computer system equipment replacement in 2026 as part of the 2026 county budget, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Entertain a motion.
Kelly makes a motion. Lynn seconds.
And here to answer questions if anybody has any questions. Just a minute, let this Andy come.
Both
The IT Andy.
I do have a question. I've been in IT 25 years, I understand. With the inflation in the last several years, is there any working on stretching out the rotations, or is it still pretty much a tight 3-year rotation?
Great question. We don't do a 3-year rotation. We do actually a 5-year rotation on end user devices as well as our server infrastructure and storage. Our network equipment, we're always trying to stretch that as long as we can. It's usually dependent on how long it's supported for security patches and things like that. We've been very lucky when we've been purchasing. We're purchasing early on the life cycles. So our last switch replacement, for example, I believe got about 9 years or so. So we're trying to always keep an eye on that to make sure that we're getting the most that we can out of it. Any other questions?
More questions for Andy? Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we will call the vote to approve the resolution.
I know.
All right, thank you. Resolution is approved. Item 7, Resolution 21-25. Resolution to authorize funding for LCFM 2026 Capital Improvement Project.
Resolution 21-25, resolution to authorize the use of funding for Department of Land Conservation and Forest Management capital improvement projects as part of the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $500,000 consisting of approximately $250,000 from State of Wisconsin grants and $250,000 from donations be included in the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan as part of the 2026 county budget to be used to construct a warming shelter and a maintenance shed at the Hickory Ridge Trail. And be it further resolved that the sum of $120,000 be applied from the county snowmobile state fund to be included in the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan as part of the 2026 county budget to be used for construction of snowmobile bridges, if grant funding is approved by the Department of Natural Resources. And be it further resolved that the sum of $300,000 consisting of approximately $150,000 from State of Wisconsin grants and $150,000 from the Forest and Trails Special Conservation Fund balance be included in the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan as part of the 2026 county budget to be used to acquire county forest lands, subject to the county board approval. And be it further resolved that the sum of $100,000 consisting of approximately $100,000 from county stewardship fund balance be included in the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan as part of the 2026 county budget to be administered pursuant to the Chippewa County Stewardship Fund Policy and Procedures for Program Administration as previously adopted through Resolution 8999, forwarded to the County Board by the Executive Committee.
Lots moves.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on this?
So my question is,
Just a minute, we'll let let Linda come up here so she can answer questions possibly. Okay.
well, there's other people on the queue before me.
That was you.
No,
That was just you.
no, yeah.
So my question is, if the grants and the donations fall through, are we on the hook for this money?
No.
Okay, so if those things fall through, it just does not happen.
Correct.
Then my other question is on the land acquisition. I'm guessing that this is land that is currently on the tax roll that will no longer be on the tax roll?
Correct.
But that's not a for sure thing yet, that's if something becomes available.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none, I will call the vote then on the resolution. Resolution is approved. Item 8, Resolution 22-25, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds for the Sheriff's Office 2026 Capital Improvement Plan.
Resolution 22-25, resolution to authorize the use of sales tax funds for Sheriff's Office capital improvement projects as part of the 2026 Capital Improvement Plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the sum of $195,000 be transferred from the Sales Tax Property Relief Fund to the Sheriff's Office Equipment Fund as part of the 2026 budget to be used to improve, update, and enhance the Sheriff's Office continuity of operations plan by purchasing a field services mobile command trailer. And be it further resolved that the sum of $135,000 be transferred from the Sales Tax Property Relief Fund to the Sheriff's Office Equipment Fund as part of the 2026 budget to be used to improve, update, and enhance the office's continuity of operations plan by purchasing all new tasers in Phase 1 for the Patrol Division and Jail Division, forwarded to the County Board by the Executive Committee.
Entertain a motion.
Slater so moves.
Seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions, comments?
Have you gotten an eye on a new trailer yet?
We do. We stopped down to Campers World last year to kind of get an idea where to start, and they had a closeout. Closeout fell at about $100,000, somewhere in there, and we have to have it remodeled to fit our needs because it's set up obviously as a camper. It'll be completely gutted and turned into a command trailer for us.
Supervisor Kempe.
Did you guys try to look in Chippewa County to buy a trailer in Chippewa County?
No, we really when we did this, we started off with looking at command trailers made by law enforcement agencies or for law enforcement agencies. Those ran at about $700,000 for those. So we switched gears and we had to get a start somewhere. We're not committed to go to Campers World. We just had to get an idea of what's this going to cost us as opposed to $700,000. So we went down there. They had a large selection. We got to tour them, looked at them. IT went down with us, and they kind of threw their 2 cents in a little bit, gave us some ideas, and we had to have some place to start. So obviously, when we're making that kind of purchase, we have to get other bids, multiple bids. So we'll do that.
Okay, any more questions? If not, then we will call the vote for the resolution. The resolution is approved. Thank you. Item 9, ordinance 5-25, ordinance to amend section 70-8, 70-63, 70-70 through 70-73, and 70-76 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances regarding zoning. It's the first reading. So, well, this is a first reading. We'll vote on the second, and we'll get the information on it right now.
I'll just give you just a quick preview of the ordinance amendments and the process. So when it's Chippewa County zoning ordinance, the towns adopt that ordinance, and then in order for us to make any changes in it, it does need to go back through the towns for their review and their approval. So it's kind of a checks and balance that's set up in the state statutes that make sure that, we're keeping the ordinance in good fashion, and that when we make ordinance changes, that the towns would have to adopt those as well. Now, it is a majority vote, so we do have 6 zone towns. So out of the 6, I need 4 of them to say yes to the amendments to the ordinance. I send them out to the towns. Some of the towns have plan commissions, and then they have their town boards that review it. That information, their preliminary comments get back to me. I incorporate those into the document if I have time to get them to the Planning and Zoning Committee. If not, at the Zoning and Planning Committee meeting, we just review those real quick. Then the next step is I bring them back to the Planning and Zoning Committee through a public hearing process. So there's a lot of time committed to this process, even before you actually, as a county board, get to see it in this first draft. So all the ordinance amendments that are in here have been kind of sitting around for about 12 to 18 months. Some of these have come at the request of the towns. Some of them have come at the request of individual property owners when we see some type of request that doesn't fit into our zoning ordinance, and then we modify it to their request. And I know that sounds kind of interesting, but it is true. We look at it, and if it's not allowed in the ordinance, we try to figure out what that property owner is doing, what, if any, issues there are, and then how to fit it into the ordinance, whether it's a new zoning district, a conditional use process, or just some modification of the existing language. So with our ordinance, it was adopted back in '65, and it has gone through major revisions for over 60 years now. So some of the revisions that I proposed were maybe some language that needed to be updated, some spelling errors in there from previous revisions that we had put in, and some things that as you're looking at it, like the first one that was up there was principal. Obviously, it needed to be changed because the word was wrong. I don't know how that got past me, but it did. So just a couple of highlights of these. By the way, I got C's in English when I was in high school. So Todd and I have some very good conversations about the language. And, he helps me out tremendously to get my Anglais skills put together correctly. So thanks, Todd. Some of the definitions that I've changed in here: hotel, motel. I carbon copied what they had in the state statutes. I didn't recreate these. Actually, administrative code, excuse me, for hotel and motel. There was a revision to the setback definitions. The way that they were written in here didn't make any sense because they really only talked about the road right-of-ways. So we modified that definition to kind of get back in line with how we've been actually administering the ordinance, not since I've been here, which was 99, but even previous to that time frame. We made some changes to the front yard, rear yard, side yard definitions to kind of reflect some of the issues that we are seeing. In a traditional subdivision, we always kind of look at those middle lots. Front is obviously easy to determine. It's the opposite of the rear. And you have your side yards, but we do have issues where we have corner lots. And we had one issue that popped up as we were working on this one where it was actually a lot that had 3 sides covered by roads. So we felt that we needed to get back in here and kind of modify it a little bit to fit how we were going to administer the ordinance and make it a little clearer on how those setbacks are going to work for that property. Within the residential 3 district, we have always allowed multifamily dwellings. Multifamily is 3 or more units. We are looking at potentially with having some of the development that's coming in where we're looking at these multi-units that are 15, 20, and 30 plexes. And believe me, there are questions all over that we're receiving a lot that from all over in the county. So the towns felt that they wanted to have a little bit of say when we're talking about those 5 units or more for that units. But if it is zoned residential 3, a 5 or more unit would be a conditional use permit. And just to let you know, when we look at conditional use permits, because it's in the ordinance, we have to take a look at it. We just can't deny it outright. There has to be some type of reasonable standards that we're looking at for that development. They can't be unreasonable conditions that we put on the development. And more importantly, we just can't just say no. We have to have reasons for that. And that was taken care of back in 2015 in the state statutes, where if you have a conditional use, you have to work that through your process, especially when we're talking about multifamily dwellings. And once again, if you're seeing them pop up all over the place, we do have requests for them to go into R3s on private septics and private wells outside city and village limits. So as long as they meet the requirements for everything, there shouldn't be any issues. Parking, minimum lot size. One of the bigger one of the bigger ones in here, maybe small, is the storage of outdoor display fireworks. We had a request from a property owner to store them in basically those cargo units in the middle of this 40 acres. And we had felt that it was probably a good idea to get back into our ordinance and change that if the ATF is issuing a permit and approval for it. They've got setback standards for how far it can be based on the pounds of explosives they have in there for other structures. So we felt that that was an appropriate move to put into the ordinance. Just as a permitted use, by the way, so no conditional use on that. Changes to the local commercial district and the highway commercial district. We are starting to see some requests for buildings that have a first floor commercial, and then upper area would be apartment complexes or apartments. So we've made that change to our ordinance to allow that as conditional use in that local commercial or that highway commercial. And then that falls into the next portion of our ordinance, which is the plan unit development. The plan unit development is a bigger concept that we probably won't see what they see in cities and villages, but we will see it where individuals want to put more than one primary building on the property. In this situation, we're talking back to that local commercial, highway commercial revision that allows for apartments on the upper floors and commercial on the bottom floors. We have a request for an individual to put two such buildings on one parcel. The plan unit development will allow us that opportunity to stick it in there. It does allow it, or it does require it to go through a rezone process. So once again, it'll have to go through the Plan Commission, the Town Board, Planning and Zoning Committee, and then up to the County Board. This plan unit development's a little bit different than other rezones. They're going to have to provide a lot of information up front for us in order to review it, in order to approve it. And one of the questions that I had was in regards to, adequate. Each development has to be looked at its own terms or on its own merits, and we have to make terms or conditions in that based on what we're going to see within that development. So you may see in a 2 units on the bottom that are commercial and 4 units on the top. That is going to have less traffic or less congestion or less issues than what you would see if you had a 36 complex apartments on the top of 18 type of units, commercial units on the bottom. So it's very vague in regards to adequate, but in situations where our ordinance does not have a definition, it falls back to the dictionary, and I pull my dictionary out, and then we start looking at the words, and that's where Todd comes in and helps me out with the definitions as well. So so each development, if they come in, we believe that how we've modified the plan unit development zoning district will be adequately no pun intended, adequately handled by the Plan Commission, town boards, and then through planning and zoning. And once again, back to the reasonableness, when we are looking at those, we do have to put reasonable conditions on them. If they're unreasonable or they're unenforceable, that's where I'll step in and say, we just can't do this, and here's the reason why. And then hopefully at that point in time, we'll be able to figure out what the true issue is and make the modifications to the proposal. So.
So my question is there a definition in the state statutes for the word adequate?
I didn't look at the state statutes per se. I did pull out Merriam-Webster, and it isn't there.
and I get the problem of adequate, but the issue is always going to be, I only think I need one parking spot, and that should be adequate.
That is right. Then we pull out, and then we pull out the ordinance and say, in the ordinance it says, here's how many parking stalls you actually need for that particular development. Now, if, let's see, what 18, I just looked at 40 units, so they're gonna need 80 parking spots. They can put them wherever they want. They can put them underground, they can have them outside, they can have covered on the outside, but if they don't have 80, then they have to come in for a variance from that standard. So if someone, let's say an appointed individual on Plan Commission and or the town board or the Planning and Zoning Committee said, I really believe that you need 160 parking spots here because we're looking at 4 people per unit. That's going to be unreasonable, and there's nothing to justify that for that amount. So adequate, as vague as it seems, we would go back to the ordinances. Another example would be if they had a septic system, well, they'll have a big septic system out there, but if we required something that was going to be 4 times what the state would require, then that's unreasonable, and we'd have to get back in. We'd have to have some pure justification as why we would put that as a condition on that. So,
can we at least check the state statutes for a definition? I've just have been through this actual word before.
Oh, yeah. Todd. But we will, I'll check the state statutes, see if there's a term in there. This is just a first reading tonight.
Sure.
So take a look at it. I will get back to you on.
My sense is that the definitions should at least defer back to relative code.
Sure.
Regarding the issue. Sure. Or something to that effect.
Yep. Duly.
On your 400 square feet, is that a downsizing from past?
It is not a downsizing. It's actually a limit. The information that I have in here, I do take a look at other ordinances that are local. The 400 feet was in the city of Chippewa Falls ordinance, and that's where I got it from.
many municipalities are still at 500 and 600 feet. 400 is a very reasonable number for an apartment, and that's very usable. I'm glad you're doing it.
It's 20 by 20, really. I mean, when you sit down and look at it, and it seems like that's appropriate. I would have to guess that maybe in a couple of years, we'll actually come back and revisit the 400 square feet as housing gets a little more expensive and these spots are going to get a little more crunched.
Thank you.
Any more questions? We're not, this is just first reading, so we're not voting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Item 10, County Board Chair Appointments. A County Board Chair appointment for the CEC Board. That's there before you. You all need to vote on that? Oh. Yeah, we'll need a motion to approve. Yep.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the appointment. Any questions? Yep. It is approved. Thank you. We have agenda items for future consideration. I'll communicate that. Item 13.
In lieu of Mr. Erickson's duty.
Lot seconds.
Motion second to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
No.
What to do? Yeah, I agree. They're already,
Rock, how do you say it? You need to spot for outdoor recreation.
you can just, so yeah, don't, anyway.
We got a couple, assuming that.
Can be like,